Not something to be corrected, something that is stuck to you forever. And to anybody else that you have a grievance against. It looks upon the world with sightless eyes and shrieks as it beholds its own projections rising to attack its miserable parody of life. It wants to live, yet wishes it were dead. It wants forgiveness, yet it sees no hope. It wants escape, yet can conceive of none because it sees the sinful everywhere. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible, and does not see it as condemned itself to this despair. It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness that its judgment is correct. This is the evidence that we see around us every day. This is what we see as the evidence. Obviously, I'm in trouble here. Look at this. It's horrible. It does not ask because it thinks it knows. It does not question, certain that it is right. So this is what we have, and this is what we will continue to have. Now, it's important for me to say, and this sounds pretty bleak, and I'm not saying that we don't have moments of happiness and moments of peace in the world. But continually, it returns to despair. Continually, it returns to us scratching our head and going, what is going on here? This is crazy. We are Sisyphus. We're Sisyphus pushing the rock up the mountain. Every day we push this stupid boulder up the mountain. And then it gets to the top and it rolls over the top of us and rolls back down. The next morning we wake up and forgot we did it. And we do it again. Over and over. Then there's this thing in the back of our mind, the despair is saying, God, this seems familiar. Seems like I've been doing this forever. You have. Forever meaning in time, right? In time. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in the split mind. It is not inherent in the real mind, which cannot sin. So the real mind, the mind we share, the one in which all life is connected, that mind doesn't even see all these mistakes that we're all wrapped up in. It doesn't see it at all. So forgiveness is actually I would just say forgiveness is not of God. Because God never held anything against us anyway. Forgiveness is necessary because we're the ones that made all this and we have to undo it. It's our deal. It's our purpose, if you will. As sin is an idea that you taught yourself, forgiveness must be learned by you as well. So here's where it's your responsibility. Forgiveness is your responsibility to learn. But from a teacher, capitalized by the way, other than yourself. So you can't learn forgiveness from your ego, because the ego wants to just make excuses. The ego wants to appear grand, wants to appear great, and be beneficent, but really hold all these resentments in some small storage locker somewhere in the back of the mind. So a teacher other than the ego, who represents the other self in you, what we talked about last week. The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, our real identity. The thing that our real identity being what we do at the meditation at the end. We want to be taught by that. Through Him, through Holy Spirit, by the way, your Holy Spirit, you learn how to forgive the self you think you made. So first you're going to forgive All of the stuff that you don't want to tell me. All the stuff that you don't want to tell anybody. All the stuff you don't want to even admit to yourself, but keeps haunting you. Then you want to forgive all the stuff you made up about all your enemies and all your friends. And let it disappear. Thus you return your mind as one to him who is yourself and who can never sin. So here's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness goes back to the place where you were. So I'm going to forgive. I'm going to give first. We'll just take it. And actually, forgiveness, the root doesn't actually come from that. I was told a long time ago that it actually meant to give first. But we're just making a new definition for it. Just because it's got give before, right? To give first, meaning I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to go back to the place where the offense occurred. In my mind now. I can't go back in time in my body. I can only do it in my mind. So I'm going to go back in time to the place where the offense first occurred. And that is the state of mind that I want to maintain. So if I go back before the offense occurred, that means it hasn't happened yet. So now there's nothing to take offense about because it hasn't happened. So I'm going to keep that state of mind. So the example that I've given before is I have a friend who called me and said, man, we're fighting again. Every single time. She says this, I say that. Pretty soon it's a big to-do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, my tendency is when I hear somebody tell me a story that they're having this domestic dispute, my tendency is to, go with my friend. The ego tendency is to say, oh, you poor thing. You're putting up with too much. You need to just get out of there. You need to just leave. You need to do whatever, right? But I know that this is not correct. Because first of all, I don't know what really happened. I know what he just told me happened, but she didn't tell me anything. So I don't know what it is from her perspective. If she'd have called me first, I probably would have took her side. Right? Because I'm easily convinced that people are being mistreated. So now I know that he's got a side, she's got a side, and neither one of them is the truth. Both of them are perceptions. And so I got to say there is no resolution by walking away. The only solution is love. The only solution is love. So I asked the question, what was happening right before the argument started? What were you thinking about? What were you going to do? Oh man, it was great. I had this plan. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to go to a movie. I had this, all of this. I was feeling good. And I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to that state of mind. I want you to go back to the state of mind you were in before the argument started. Now there's a moment before you actually say the first harsh word where you have a choice. Don't deny it. Everybody knows. They still know right now. And sometimes it spits out, right? It comes out before you actually can grab it and take it back. But even then in that moment, I could stop right now. I could stop this right now and say, oh, I'm really sorry. I did not mean that. We could stop it right then, but no. Now sometimes we do, and then we see that it has a good result, but many times we just say, oh, no, now the die is cast. Now we've got to go down, we have to go down the road now. We're in it now. Because the thing is, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. She said this first. If she wouldn't have said that, then that wouldn't have caused me. So it's not my fault, so I'm not taking responsibility for it, and that's it. Well, we could diffuse the whole thing. A kind word turneth away wrath. But no. But anyway, so we go on, we have the fight, but then, still, and we go our separate ways. Hopefully we go to separate rooms, hopefully it doesn't turn into some melee. But, okay, so we go our separate ways, and I'm saying to him, go back to the state of mind you were in before the thing happened. See what that feels like. Remember what that feels like. And then, and this is the key to this whole thing, then go to her and take responsibility for your stuff. Say nothing about her stuff. Just take responsibility for what you did. Take responsibility for the first harsh word that you said. And then act as if nothing happened. Now it's really important that you get that piece in there of taking responsibility, because if you just, after the whole fight, If you try to put yourself back in the state of mind before it happened, and then you just act like nothing happened without saying a word, that's just denial. And that again, this is going to come back later. So take responsibility for what you did, and then don't worry about whether she does, he does, they do. Don't worry about any of that. Just you act like it never happened. And then say something like, well, are you ready to go? It's time to go. We got a reservation at the restaurant. Well, let's go. Now, this is just a common sense, practical approach to these little fights that we have with people. But what I want to say is that really what forgiveness is truly and in its purest form is to go back to the state of mind we were in before the first offense occurred. And the first offense was eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The first offense was me thinking that I was separate from you in the first place. So I want to return to the state of mind I was in when I knew that we were all one. And of course, that's a state of mind before I was born in this body, or in the 1,000 bodies that I've been born in since that first. Which, by the way, reincarnation is not really important to the discussion. It's just another illusory device of the ego. But the fact is the same. We keep repeating these same things over and over again, all coming from this original separation event. So I can't remember. I can't remember what that state of mind was, but I've got some clues. It comes to me from time to time. I'm at peace. I feel connected to you. And I have only desire for good to come to you. Now these are all words and symbols. And words, it says, words are symbols of symbols. So it's very difficult to really get what this really means. But I got a sense of it. And so my state of mind, so this would be the practice of forgiveness. The practice of forgiveness is continually returning to a state where I feel connected to you and desire only good to come to you. In order to do that, I just have to over and over again, every time the offense comes back to my mind, every time I remember your bad action, every time something else happens that reminds me of some bad thing that happened in the past, I have to have the discipline to bring my mind back to that state that we're all connected and that I desire only good to come to you. Forgiveness is forgetting. The sign outside says, forgive everyone. If you read it the other way, it says, everyone forgive. Forgive everyone, because you are everyone. And the only way that you're going to have the forgiveness for yourself is to extend it to everyone else. Which is back to the old story of the only way to get to heaven is to take everyone else with you. That's it. Thank you.